From Reminder Media, this is Stay Paid, a sales and marketing podcast on a mission to help you close more deals and retain more business. Hosted by the VP of Marketing, Josh Stake, and Reminder Media's president, Luke Acree. So get ready to hear the golden nuggets that will allow you to live a life of freedom tomorrow, but only if you take action today.
Luke, what's going on, man?
I'll tell you what's going on, dude. I've been deathly ill. And I mean, I don't normally get sick.
Dude, we both got sick at like the same time.
I've been deathly ill. Now, the audience knows we pre-record these, right?
Yeah.
If you're a listener of us, you know we pre-record this. So it is something else. When you come to the end of the year and you're setting your goals, and then you get deathly ill. So one of my goals, speaking of the guest we have on today, I actually kind of took it from him when I started following his Instagram stories of working out. One of my goals was 260 workouts because I did it last year and doing it again this year. And dude, when you're sick, like I shared it at one of our company meetings. I tried to go sweat out the flu.
Sweating it out.
Type idea. You can't sweat out the flu. That doesn't work. But it just speaks to, because I mentioned before we came on the podcast, I'm reading the book Extreme Ownership. So I'm going through it again for a second time with one of my sales guys. And just that ability to have belief and take ownership. Like if you don't have a huge why and take ownership for like, it's so easy to have the excuse when you wake up at 4. When my 4:15 alarm goes off, dude.
If you give yourself the option, you are going back to sleep.
When you're sick, you have the perfect excuse of, well, it's not healthy for me to get up. I need a rest. I need to figure. And that's all true.
The doctor said to sleep.
But if you're committed to your goals,
that's right, man.
If you're committed to your goals,
I'm so committed to my goals that I'm drinking tea with honey, and I hate tea.
What? Because you're giving up coffee?
No, but I got bronchitis, so I tried to get my voice back for this podcast. This is my goal.
This is the Stay Paid boys to become the sick boys. That's what it is.
We've got a living legend here on the podcast. We're going to tease that. First, we're going to read one of our recent listener reviews. This one is titled Best Podcast Out There for Realtors. This comes in from QQQQQQLQQ.
Sick username.
These usernames on iTunes. Apparently, it's very difficult to post a review on iTunes. So we're actually making a video of how to post a review on iTunes. We'll include it in the show notes of this show. But this one, he says, he or she, QQQ, says, I've listened to all kinds of podcasts on marketing, sales, goals, etc., looking for one that perfectly fits the needs of a realtor, and I am in love with Stay Paid. I am constantly impressed by the caliber of content and guests these guys are putting out. They have a unique talent of always bringing it back to real estate and showing how we could apply these skills in our field. Thank you so much for all that you do, and keep up the great work.
Dude, I love you, Q.
Thank you, QQQQQLQQ. Yes. I practiced that username like 5 times, by the way. But hey, enough of this banter. We're going to get to this. The man, the myth, the legend himself, Tom Ferry, is on the podcast today. Doesn't need much of an introduction, but for those of you who don't know, he is the #1 real estate educator in the world, a 2-time best-selling author, the founder and CEO of Ferry International, and the host of the Tom Ferry Show. Tom, welcome to Stay Paid. Thanks for being on the podcast.
I appreciate the opportunity, guys. Thanks for allowing me to contribute.
Yeah, man, it's awesome to have you. So everybody who's been following our podcast knows my brother got into real estate like 3 years ago. And, you know, and I've been kind of sharing about his journey. So I call him early this morning. I said, guess what, dude? I'm interviewing Tom Ferry today. He's like, what? Dude, he's like, you're interviewing freaking Tom Ferry? I was like, yeah, dude, I'm interviewing Tom Ferry. So I don't know if the audience knows this. I mean, I've been following Tom for so long now. Obviously, here at ReminderMedia, we work with a lot of real estate agents, so I get so much of my inspiration. I use him in the morning meetings. Tom, I have to admit to you, man, I use you as motivation, both from education, but also motivation of, man, I got to beat this guy. I got to beat this guy. I got to be as good as Tom. So I use you both ways. But because you have just been such an influence in the real estate industry, I'm 31 years old. You know, I've been following Tom for a long time now, you know, learning about his stuff and really taking to heart and trying to practice it and trying to put it into implementation. It's really been, you know, a huge thing here for us at ReminderMedia to really put into practice the principles that you've coached over the years. So I'm super excited to have you on. I'm excited to hear, you know, especially for all the new agents, because I tend to work with a ton of new agents, and everybody feels like they're on the hamster wheel and they can't get off that hamster wheel. And I'm excited to hear your take on how can agents go from being on a hamster wheel where their business is running them to really where they can run their business and they can live what you say is like a life by design and not a life by default. But I figured we could start just for the few people who are listening that maybe have never heard of you. if you could introduce yourself and really share about your journey and how you got into coaching, how you got to where you're at today, and what you're really working on and what you're pushing for today.
Listen, I'm a husband of 26 years to the same person, married her 3 times. I've got 2, relatively adult kids, 18 and 20. We're a company today of about 370 people between our coaches and our internal team. And it's nice to receive the accolades of number 1 and Stefan Swanpool, and the Swanpool report is obviously very kind. And we feel like we do a really good job. But at the end of the day, I am just insanely passionate about helping people move forward. And even that sounds like BS, when you hear it. If you don't know me and you have no context, you're like, oh, yeah, he's just another motivational dude. Except I'm publishing right now my cell phone number and giving it to people. And I've literally received in the last, 2 weeks, something around 7,000 text messages, mostly that say, is this really Tom?
Wow.
And I say, I'll send them a video back hey, what's up, Josh? It's me. Dude, I like the fart noise you did in episode 114. and people freak out. I'm trying to figure out how to scale trust, how to touch more people, how to have greater impact at this stage of my career versus in the beginning. So kind of backstory really fast if you don't know who I am. Some people were raised on milk and cookies. I was raised in Southern California on surf, skate, punk rock. Was kicked out of both parents' houses, was kicked out of 4 different high schools,
Nice.
Graduated with a GED. I was always incredibly focused just on the wrong stuff. And I made the decision at 18 with literally a purple mohawk working at a grocery store from midnight to 9s that this was not my passion. This is not what I wanted to do. And I thought, I'm going to go run my dad's company. And literally 2 days later, he comes walking in. If you guys know who my dad is, he's a legend in this space and has brought so much discipline to our industry and done so much good for so many people. I walked in and I'm like, Dad, I want to run your company. Now, for context, he had kicked me out a year and a half earlier, and I hadn't spoken to him yet. And I've got a purple, mohawk and a Bauhaus t-shirt, which, purple mohawk for this, freckles is not a good look. I figured that out later. But he literally said to me, when the drugs wear off, come talk to me. And as the joke goes, I waited 4 hours and the drugs wear off. And I came back to him the next day and said, this is what I think I could do. I can come in and I could be the receptionist, then I could work in accounting, then I could go into logistics, then I can go into sales. And then from sales, I go to marketing to being the president. And I did that, except it took me 9 years. And I was able to take this really fantastic family business and almost turn it into a science project, trying to figure out what worked and what didn't. And, myself and my executive team and all of us that worked there took that little company from 3 million to 45 million in a matter of 6 years. And when you have that kind of jump,
that's amazing.
It's life-changing for the family. And what happened was I was able to scale the way he was operating his business beyond just, never knowing where you're going to be the next day. Kind of the hamster wheel that you mentioned with agents. The same things I did there, the same things I did with my own business. It's the same stuff I'm teaching top teams, CEOs of companies, mortgage, insurance, real estate, and everything else, and individual agents that want to build a business by design. So really that's what we do today. We coach, thousands of agents all over the world. I've got 187 coaches in 5 different countries. We do 30 or 40 events a year. I do a lot of content. I do it all for free. There's no paid stuff, paid gate prospect or, content, et cetera. My belief is, the people that resonate with your message, like what you guys are doing, the people that resonate, they become a part of your tribe, and then your job is to serve your tribe. And that's all I focus on every day.
That's amazing. I mean, the taking that company, and then I guess from there, then you branched out and you started your own thing. And this is kind of, when did that
Correct.
begin with Tom Ferry International?
Not a knock against my father. I'm always grateful for him, and we have dinner all the time and hang out. We are just very different. The people that knew us knew that I had a certain approach and he had a certain approach, but I honored the fact that his name was on the door. He was the founder of the company. It was his methodology. So I did everything in my power, if you will, to be the orchestrator and producer of more of that. But after a while, my heart was just look, I just think there's a different way to do it. When I was looking at the very beginning of starting this company, at that time I was coaching 16 of the top 100 agents on the original Real Trends top 100 list. And you know what those guys and gals had in common? Almost nothing. Starting from a marketing and lead generation standpoint, it was all over the board. And it was the first time, Josh, as a marketer, you'll appreciate this. I wrote down, there's no wrong way to generate a client.
Right.
The key is to build a repeatable and scalable practice of whatever lead source you're going to work. You know what I mean? And when I wrote that down and then, months later started my own company, that became sort of the cornerstone value that, look, you want to do open houses? Great. Let's just do it better. You want to do online lead generation? Great. Let's do it better. You want to do geographic farming? You want to do direct mail? Like we're a fan of ephemeralization, right? Get a lot out of a little without spending another dime. That's my mindset.
Dude, that is there's a huge golden nugget. There's a couple of huge golden nuggets in there. But one golden nugget I want to point out to people that I don't know if people are catching, the ability to stay true to yourself and what you believe in. Like when you build a foundation of your life, like so much so you leave a family company of 45 million, not in a bad way, probably in a great way. But I mean, that is huge. Like Tom's leaving a $45 million company to go out, start this other one, true to himself of what he believes in. And that's just such a huge golden nugget of stay true to what you believe in. There's multiple ways to do things. And it's the idea of committing to that repeatable and scalable. I mean, just a huge golden nugget there.
So, talk about that hamster wheel then a little bit. What are agents doing today that's sticking them on that hamster wheel? What are some of the activities that they should be doing every single day, maybe to get off of that or to take more control over their business?
We've probably had 80 or 90,000 agents download our business plan that we make available for free. And then, thousands and thousands of individuals, new agents, teams, veterans, mega teams, brokerages build it inside of our software for our coaches. The simple answer is most people, don't know where their business comes from. Secondarily, they haven't documented how they get it. So every day, every week, every month is a roll of the dice, right? I don't care how you generate clients. Document if this, then that, right? You need to begin by extracting what works. And the language we use, kind of using a sports analogy, is run plays that work and stop doing dumb shit. You with me?
Hashtag that.
And believe me, we use it all the time. And I apologize if I offend anybody for cursing, but it's just the only way to say it, to wake you up to marketing is math. Lead generation is math, right? I have a 10-person marketing team over here that will generate 200,000 clicks, full form, fill out, cell phone, email, yada, yada. Yes, I want more information. Then I've got a team of 30 SDRs that will basically take those leads, right? Luke, you'll appreciate this. All the leads come in, top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, no interest, but just curious, research phase, transactional, ready to go. And I've got a team of 30 plus SDRs that basically nurture, qualify, find out where they are, either put them in a long-term system or hand them over to one of our consultants. And then one of our consultants, they make 6-7 presentations every single day. And I say, you don't have to close hard because I'm going to put 7 people a day into your schedule to talk to.
Dude, that's
don't be a knucklehead. Bring value. And if they don't buy from you, I want them to say that was the most incredible value anybody's ever given to me for free. You with me? And if you do that, which we do, 90, 120 days, 180 days later, when the timing is finally right, they raise their hand and say, hey, that sounds cool. You guys were great. I want to get involved. Right? So marketing is math. So how does the agent solve that? Number one is go through every one of your sources of business. Open house, geo farm, referral. There's 37 different online sites an agent can sign up for to get referrals and pay a referral fee. Are you on every one of them, right? If social matters to you, and it better based on the things that we know today, what produces the best result, what frequency, what time of the day, document and extract everything you do. Now, I know when I say that, you guys go, because we're running this big business serving tens of thousands of clients.
Right.
But I deal with solo entrepreneurs every day. I deal with CEOs that have no idea what I'm talking about. And they say, can I get somebody from marketing, on the session with us so we can work on this? I say to people, look, just go on the MLS, print out your transactions, and just categorize them. Past client, referral, sphere, no idea, met at an open house, online lead, search, paid, whatever, Zillow, Trulia, whatever you do, yada, yada, I don't care. But first do that, then ask yourself, when I'm producing the best result, what do I do? And if you just start to document how you do it, now all of a sudden an agent has awareness around the plays they run that works. Then secondarily, you say, okay, now what's my marketing plan going forward? So everyone watching or listening right now, if you're in business And business is all about innovation and marketing. If you don't have a marketing plan, I would challenge you and say, you're not even in business. If you can't say to me, on the wall for the first quarter, we want this many impressions on social, this many clicks. We're going to put out this many pieces of content. We're going to do this many direct mail pieces. We're going to have this many magazines go out. We expect this return on our investment. And we're going to do this, plus calls, plus if that isn't documented and written in front of you, what the hell are you doing every day?
Yeah.
Oh, I know what you're doing. You're going like this. Please, real estate God, please find me a transaction. Now, you might argue, Tom, but the problem is I've done some of that stuff in the past. And for that, I acknowledge you. And then what happens? You get busy being a salesperson again. You go from running marketing to now taking out buyers, working with sellers, following up on deals, in the middle of negotiations. Oh, I want some time off now and then. That'd be nice too. So the argument I'm making is you either outsource it, guys like you and other solutions, right? That's smart. We know agents hate to pay for things, and I understand that because I don't know many entrepreneurs that in their mind, certainly in the beginning stages, especially being south of $1 million in revenue, that want to pay for anything. But I know you'll pay a 25% referral fee for any layup transaction any day of the week. So the reality is you have at least 25% that you can say, now, am I going to pay it up front? Am I going to pay it on the back end? Am I going to hire someone who's going to do my lead nurturing as an example? Am I going to hire someone who's going to set up my email if this, then that programs? Like, the world doesn't need another small, high-stressed, not enough income salesperson.
Amen. Amen. Get that commission breath.
Oh, for sure. Well, it's just worse. Like the three of us, we're sitting here on this podcast and it's assumed or implied that we've done something that got us to this point. And yet I know you two guys know as much as I know, right? When I hang up from this, I got another podcast, then I got a coaching session, then I'm going to make 7 sales calls, then I'm going to go follow up and make a presentation, then I'm going to go hop on an airplane and go do my equivalent of an open house. And in between that, I'm going to make 700 phone calls, shoot 43 videos. That's what you do.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's no one that's watching this that should ever have free time.
Yeah.
Dude, that is so good.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And we just went through this with our business. And one of the things that we go through is, and it's exactly what you're saying. We look at where did all of our leads or all of our sales come from last year? What channels did they come from? What percentage of total sales was that? And then you work it all the way back to the leads and what you're saying. If it's social media, how many impressions do I need to get this many clicks, to get this many form fill out, to get this many calls, to get this many sales? Now, I guess the challenge becomes, and we see it a little bit in our business, we'll sit there and we'll do this at the beginning of the year, and then every quarter it comes back around, and we're like, okay, we got the new quarterly numbers, right? And then every morning we're pulling those numbers and looking at it and say, where are we at? How are we pacing? How much time? We're a big business. We've got 240 people here. How much time should a solopreneur, should a solo agent, business professional be spending every day on that piece of the business?
A minimum of 1 hour to an hour and a half every single week.
Every week.
Right? The longer you go, and like for you guys, and certainly for us, it's a daily cadence.
Right.
Right? And it's multiple, like, hey, how many leads did we generate? And there's a lead generation team, right, that interacts with everybody else, and that's all they focus on. Then there's the appointment setting team, and they interact with everybody else, but they're looking every single day. Did we get 275 new appointments in for the next 24 hours, right? Like every single day that cadence is happening in my environment. I don't think most solo entrepreneurs will do that, but man, once a week, if you don't stop and go, I got 1 escrow, I got 24 buyer leads, I have no idea when any of them are going to buy, right? I got 1 totally overpriced listing that won't let me do open houses. Why do I even have that listing? Do you know what I mean? If you don't stop and say, my goal for revenue was 100 grand, I've got to be at 25,000 every quarter, right? Which means somewhere in the range of, what was that, 80 something, dollar or $800 every month, right? If you're not looking at that, right? Again, the world doesn't need another person that doesn't achieve their goals and is stressed out all the time and has no money. Like the bottom line is Pearson's law. Whenever you measure performance, performance improves. Period. End of story. So you want to lose weight? Get on the scale every day.
That's great.
You want to make more money? Track your numbers. I have a journal sitting over there from like 1990, right? I met my wife in 1991. And literally I was tracking every single day, how many calls, how many contacts, how many leads, how many presentations, what was my conversion percentage, what was my commission, how did that relate to my weekly, monthly, and annual goal. And I did that for an entire year. And as like a 20-year-old, I made like 250 grand.
Yeah, man. That's,
right?
Yeah.
I wasn't special. I just tracked and measured.
Yep. Yeah, it's so funny. It's like Grant Cardone one time, what he said about writing your goals down every day, and it was so impactful. He was talking about most people come to the new year and they literally do their New Year's resolution. They write down their goal, and that's the one time they do it a year.
Yeah.
And it's like he makes his guys do it twice a day.
Twice a day.
And I mean, who's going to win?
Yes.
The person who's doing it once a year, or the person who's seeing it twice a day, every single day?
Yeah.
I'm curious, man, because
Can I? Hey,
go ahead.
Before we do though, can I just throw in something, Luke?
Yep.
So that's a blank wall. Over there is a wall of goals, right? Over there is a television that I turned off because it's got all my daily numbers on it. Like, even if you just said, "Hey, Tom, this sounds cool. How do I put it into action?" Excel spreadsheet, Google Docs. You want to track what are the 4 to 5 most important leading indicators of your business. How many people did you talk to that you know? How many people did you talk to that you don't know? Past client sphere referral, no idea who they are. Those 2 numbers have to be tracked every day. How many leads did I generate? And ideally break it down buyer seller. And then how many appointments did I book? Buyer seller. Buyer initial conversation meeting versus showing appointment. Seller, how many listing appointments? And then what was my number of sales? If you just track those and go by source and you do nothing else, I promise you, you will wake up around June, July, August of this year and you'll be like, for the first time in my life, I can predict my business. I see now that every 143 people I talk to, I make a sale. My average commission is $10,000, $10,000 into 143. How do I talk to 143 people every day?
So why don't people do that?
Remove.
Yeah, that's the $1 million question.
Reasons. I'd argue it's probably the $10 billion question, thinking about the failure rate and what that cost is in real estate. I think it's a couple things. It's going to be ambition, right? Like if you're an ambitious person, everything that the three of us talk about makes a ton of sense, right? You're like, just get to the point, man. Tell me what I got to do. Like, my drive is really strong. So ambition is one. But another big factor, guys, is exposure. Right. So you look at like a traditional insurance company, real estate company, mortgage company, anybody in sales, right? Car sales, you name it. What happens is, here's your desk, here's your phone. Good luck, kid. You're on your own. You went through training. You went through onboarding. The first 90 days is massively uncomfortable. You know nothing about the product, nothing about the customer, nothing about the market. Who's the competition? All that stuff is completely blind to you. Now go sell houses. You with me? And what do most people say? Hey, Luke, do you have a bunch of friends that you can call on? Because, you know, if a couple of them decide to buy or sell, you'll be fine, right? Well, what do I say to them? How do I do it? What if 7 of my friends are already real estate agents? Do you know what I mean? Like, nobody's talking about this. And then worse, I'm going to sit you in a cubicle environment surrounded by 8 other people that never sell houses. I had a client, Gloria Gregory, like a million years ago. She came to me. I was in Miami doing an event. She drove from Knoxville, Tennessee to Miami. I'm like, you do know they have airplanes, right? Like, she's like, I got a phobia of that. I'm like, okay, we'll deal with that one later.
Yeah, right.
I sit down with her and I'm like, so Gloria, what's your story? She's like, well, last year I did 89 transactions, all listings sold. I worked no buy side, but I've just simply run out of time. And I'm like, first of all, congratulations. Come to dinner with me. When someone is that great, fellas, I get the magnifying glass out and I am like, who are you? How do you do it? You know, I'm trying to extract to help them synthesize and codify what they can do to run it over and over again. But then I say to her, well, how did you get started? She's like, do you ever see the movie Coal Miner's Daughter? She goes, that was me. I had never been on a paved road until I was like 4 years old. We moved to the big city when I was 18. I was already married, right? My husband was going to be a mechanic. He's like, you should figure out what you're going to do. She's walking up and down this little street and there's a bar and a real estate office. And the broker owned the bar. You with me?
Yep.
So she walks into the bar, completely illegal, starts getting drunk at, 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning, talking to the broker who says, you've got a great personality. You should come sell houses.
No way. That is amazing.
It's bananas, right? She gets licensed. And back then it wasn't Century One, but I was jokingly called like Century One Good Old Boy Realty.
Yeah.
She's the only gal there, surrounded by all these guys. She goes, I walk in my first day, Tom. She goes, I'm 18 years old, and everybody's just reading the newspaper. So she's like, I thought this must be newspaper hour, right? Like that's what people do. And she said, it wasn't until maybe 3 months in when I finally turned to somebody as they're reading the newspaper, because the only paper that was left was the advertising section, aka the for sale by owners. And she's like, hey, what are these? And the guy's like, oh, those are FSBOs. And she's like, well, why are they trying to sell on their own? She's like, the guy like literally said to her, because you haven't called them yet.
Wow.
She starts calling for sale by owners, and the rest is history. She crushes it. Could you imagine if someone didn't say that to her, even though you know that agent was full of it and they were totally screwing with the rookie agent? The unintended consequences, she became one of the best agents in the state, right? Yeah. Most new agents, it's a lack of ambition. It's a lack of exposure, right? That's a big part of it. Another one is they don't understand that real estate is math, that business is math, right? So they say, well, I love houses and I love people, so I'm just going to go out and I'll talk to some people and hopefully it'll work out, right? The other mistake is there's this bullshit story in sales that is you can make a fortune only working your referrals. And my first question is, please define a fortune for me. I just hung up with my client who did 1,396 retail transactions last year, 406 million, 9.9 million in GCI.
That's not bad. You know, that's
you can't live on it, but here's my rule. No more than 30% of your total business should come from your past clients and sphere and direct transactions. And when someone says to me, 80% of my business comes from that, I say, that's a total bummer. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, you're so good and you're so selfish. You won't share you except for people that know you, like you, and trust you. Like, why aren't you scaling your trust? And then we get into a whole marketing conversation. So I think it's a combination of those things. Look, guys, 90% failure rate after 10 years, 87% failure rate in real estate after 5 years.
Dude, well,
there's got to be some.
It's interesting. It's what you're saying. You know, it's the, you know, when you talk about referrals and stuff like that, you're basically saying there's so much opportunity more on the table. What I tend to, Coach, and I'd be curious to get your opinion on this, is that, you know, what I tend to get to is that, you know, and I don't, you know, mind saying, it's like work by referral, right? Is Brian Buffini, right? And I love Brian Buffini. I think there's so much gold there, right? And I think there's so much good stuff. Yep.
I love his brother Dermot more.
I'm going to tell Brian that. I don't know Brian, but I'm going to Brian, he loves your brother more. But the point I always make to people is this. It's the principle of know, like, and trust. When you apply that to every category, there are anonymous people out there that don't know you, lead generation, that you want to get to know you, like you, and trust you. Then you have the different categories, and it's all about segmentation. It's all about, I always say, and I'm curious your opinion on this, the key to marketing is relevancy. Like, how relevant can you be to the person that you are talking to, and how much impact can you make that's relevant? It's not about relevancy to you. It's about relevancy to them, what's important to them. And you funnel people that way. And what I think a lot of agents make the mistake is that, and I do a webinar on this, where I tell them that the problem is 87% of real estate agents fail within the first 5 years because they focus all their time, energy, and money and attention trying to fill a bucket full of these leads, and they focus on the top of the funnel, and they don't know how to literally plug the holes in the bucket to get people from an anonymous state to a place where people know them, but then they like them and then they trust them. And so they don't incorporate into their business something where I always say it's the backbone. You got to build it on relationships. You got to get people to where you have a powerful relationship with them, to where they're going to use you as an agent. I think you called it the agent of trust, is you're going to be the agent 100%. Of trust in their mind. I'm curious, like, how you balance, like, for the agents listening that are starting out, because this is where my mind goes if I'm an agent listening to this, is going, okay, I need to be tracking what I'm supposed to be doing. I get that I need to get people in every category to know, like, and trust me. Like, where should I go? What weapon should I use? What tool should I start out with?
Yeah,
and
100%.
What's your opinion there to help facilitate these principles?
You want to be 50-50 or 2/3, 1/3 tried and true to brand building, scaling trust. And Luke, you say, know, like, trust. I say what I want is familiarity that is only created by frequency. When I add in relevant information, I get trust. You with me?
Yep,
like, I want them to go, oh, that's Josh. I want every agent that I work with to be walking through a grocery store and people to walk up and go, dude, I watch your stuff all the time. You're killing it. Or, hey, my kid and I were right. Like, and I say that to people like and it's funny. Like that was in my goals 10 years ago. Like,
really?
Not kidding. Right. Very, like, I want to be the most recognizable person in my space. They can love me or hate me. I don't care.
Yep.
You with me? Mm-hmm. So again, tools, you got to have a great CRM. It doesn't matter which one you pick. They're all the same, right? Just pick which one is free that your broker gives you. That's the first thing. Second, you got to have an email service provider, right? So how are you going to send out your emails in an automatic way? Because that's, again, familiarity created through frequency. Email marketing is a 3,500% return on investment as of right now. It is one of the biggest mistakes that people make. And they say, well, I don't want to send an email every week. And I'm like, okay, why? They're like, well, I don't know what to say. And I'm like, so it's not that you don't want to, you don't know what to say. Well, are you familiar with the internet? Hottest trends in real estate in South Carolina today. And like, someone's already written the article. You can just repurpose the article. You can quote the article, right? Like, it's not that complicated. And I'm sure you can buy somebody's off the shelf, if this, then that email solution. You can do that as well.
Sure.
So those first two things. Secondly, I'm going to tell you that the agents that win have a couple of things in common. So for everyone watching or listening, this would be my face-to-face sit down with you. Number one, your database, you should be converting 10% of everyone in your database annually. So if you got 100 people, that's 10 transactions. If you got 1,000 people, that's 100 transactions. Why? Because the average person moves every 10 years. So if you're not doing that, that means you're not familiar enough, frequent enough, relevant enough for them to trust you, and they're going to somebody else. Make sense? Mm-hmm. So that's number one, 10% conversion on your database. Second thing is geographic farming today, and I know what you guys do supports it insanely well. Geographic farming is as good, if not better, than your database today, and here's why. Number one, I can predict my sales price. I cannot predict my sales price with my database. I was dealing with a client over the holidays who's like, I sold more houses in 2019 than I did in 2018, and I made less money. Right. And I said, I already know the answer. You only work referrals, and you have no control over your sales price. Sense?
Yeah.
So geographic farming, what do? You go to where you already do transactions. You take your MLS the last 5 years, you look at it on an Excel spreadsheet, you upload it into Google Maps, and Google's going to go, here's where you sell houses. And then you look for the clusters and you make it really big and you're like, wait, that's Irvine Terrace, that's Crystal Cove, that's Crystal Bay. God, I do a lot of business there. Then if you're really smart, you take your entire database, you upload that into Google Maps as well, and then you find where you have influence. Not just transactions, but you know people in those areas. When you meld the two of those, picking a farm becomes very easy, provided there's a 4 to 6% turnover rate. And the only time I accept 4% is you have $1 million average sales price. Anything less than that, you want a 6% annual turnover, properties being sold. Yep. Those are the first two. Number three, if you're not crushing open houses, you are missing the mark today. I love when I talk to some of my veteran friends. Oh, God. I don't want to do open houses anymore. And then I'm like, you might want to Google the name Andy C, TSE. Andy made about $11 million in GCI in 2019, which, again, you can't live on it.
It's hard to live off of that, to be honest. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. Well, he lives in California. He pays 52% tax. He's got 4 kids. He's got, 4 salespeople on his team, and he's got 3 administrators. Trust me, he's doing okay. His entire business is the first 3 things I just told you. This guy documented, he teaches open houses to a lot of people in our networking community. And any one of you could just Google him and you could see him on my YouTube channel. This is a guy that will take his family on vacation to Hawaii. Open houses are so important. He will fly back on the red eye, do an open house Saturday, do an open house Sunday, fly back to Hawaii and enjoy the time with his family. Now you might say, dude, that's insane.
That's commitment.
And he would say to you, now you guys ready? Google this. Andy did last year nearly 30% of every closed piece of business in Saratoga, California, with an average sales price of $2.5 million.
He did 30%.
He's number 13 or 14 on the Wall Street Journal top team list. He's a beast. Database, geographic farm, all of Saratoga, getting 2 direct mail pieces a month. You with me?
Yeah.
Open houses nonstop. right? He knows every pocket listing. That can be controversial with people these days with all the different rules,
Sure,
but you know what I mean.
Yep.
They door knock before the open house, and his open houses have no hours. If it's 1 o'clock and it goes from 1 to 3 and no one shows up, they close the door and they go do another one. If they get there and it goes from 1 to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, as long as people are coming in, they don't stop. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 4, every good agent today has a paid search plan, right? So whether it's paid search for your name, competitor's name, real estate in your town on Google, Bing is like a pink tie, like nobody does it. So you should do that too. And there actually are some Bing users out there.
Yeah.
Paid search on Facebook, paid search on LinkedIn, paid search on Instagram, paid search on YouTube, paid search on Zillow, Realtor, etc. Like paid search. You got to have a strategy for this, because if I'm a buyer today and I'm in the research phase, generally speaking, I go to this. And if I don't see you, you don't exist. Including your database, which is why most people aren't at 10% conversion, because they're not where the consumers are.
Yeah, the attention.
And then the last one, 100%. And then the last one, number 5, is you got to have a social plan. So I know you guys, we all kind of follow each other.
Yep.
I don't know if you've noticed, but when the algos changed in October of last year, right? The algorithm changed on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, like everything changed.
Oh,
everything
yeah.
that used to work stopped working.
All of our
right?
social media people are nodding their heads right now.
Right? So for all my friends that are doing this, so you know what I did? I called 3 or 4 of my buddies that are at big media companies, called some friends at Facebook, called somebody at Google, and here's what everybody said: 3 to 4x your content. And I was like, is that simple? Now, Brenda, who's sitting right next to me, Courtney, who's my social media manager, like if literally, guys, if I put the display from social Sprout Social, whatever, and every other way that we track, we 3x'd every channel on content: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, like Twitter, the whole 9 yards. But we 7x'd impressions and reach.
Wow.
And didn't drop in terms of having a bunch of unsubscribers. We dramatically increased subscribers, because this thing is really busy now, people.
Yep.
It's really busy. And we're tracking right down to best day, best time of the week, et cetera, like all that detail. So I know for an agent, that's a lot. Go back through where your transactions came from. Then look at what we refer to as 5 to Thrive, what I just discussed there. Upload all your transactions in your database into Google Maps. Get a sense of what your reach is. Get a sense of where you already have trust, like where you should be marketing. And then I really want you to think, right, in 2020, just like in 2010, just like when my grandmother, Liz Wesley, sold homes in 1955 in Huntington Beach, California, the hyper local expert always wins.
Dude, it's such gold. I just encourage the audience, rewind that. Listen to that again.
Listen to it at 25% speed.
Yeah,
take notes.
Dude, that is so good. Okay, gotta ask you, Tom, man. I wish I could talk to you all day, honestly. There's so much gold that the people can get out of this. But I want to ask you personally, like, you're obviously super successful in your life. I'm a junkie, I call it, for self-development. So the Tony Robbins, people of the world, that type of idea. And, there's no magic formula to success, but people implement routines in their life that drive success for them. And I'm curious, as for you right now, what are the routines that you implement that has made you more successful both in your business and your personal life?
Control your weight, control your money, control your environment, control the people you spend your time with. Like those 4 things. You know what I mean? Like it's all discipline. So it's interesting for me. I'm married 26 years, be 27 years coming up in October. I married my wife 3 times. You with me? Never got divorced. I just keep reminding her how much I love her and how much I appreciate her. And
Good
you know
for
what I
you,
mean?
man.
Like, so
That's
just
awesome.
every married guy right now watching, step up your romance. Like, come on, 2020, stop being a candy ass. And I'm going to marry her again. She doesn't know it. Like, so we can't let the word get out. But I'm going to keep marrying until she says no.
Right.
And by the way, so what if I told you I have a routine in my schedule every week on Sunday? In my calendar, it says, ask Kathy, how am I doing as a husband? That's a routine. And I'm just looking for open feedback and dialogue. Like, baby, like I'm running 1,000,000 miles an hour. I'm trying to help as many people as I can. And you know what she said since we launched this texting thing? She's like, hey, when you come home, like stay in the garage until you're done texting and shooting those videos. So when you come home, you're present.
Wow.
Like, hey, if I didn't ask her that, I wouldn't get that coaching. And
That's
you know
huge.
what? Like, there's an old line in relationship management. Like, what you don't want is hallway sex. Do you guys know what hallway sex is? You walk past your spouse in the hallway and you go, screw you, right? Like,
That's the best part. That's worth this whole podcast.
So, ready? Obviously, I go to bed. I track on an app called Sleep Cycle for the last 5.5 years. I'm averaging a little over 7.5 hours of sleep. I used to be at 4, but there's a lot of study around if you want to ensure getting cancer, sleep less. If you want to decrease the odds of you getting cancer, your body needs time to rest and to heal. So sleeping is a big part of that. Plus all of the brain stuff we know from Dr. Daniel Amen and others. Your brain needs to like refresh itself. So I'm super focused on that. I'm going to exercise this year probably 300 times, combination of yoga, cardio, working out. And that just goes along with like the control your weight.
300, Luke.
Yeah, I need to step up my game, man. I'm at 260.
Well, but you might be doing 260 training sessions. I did, several years back to back of 250 training sessions. And the challenge was like, I felt physically stronger than I've ever felt, but like my body was just getting tired and I wasn't as flexible as I wanted to be. So now I'm all about yoga and stretching along with plus some cardio, yada, yada.
Love that.
Every day, gratitudes, every day, reviewing my goals. Once a month, I read my 20-year vision to my wife, right? And we're 4 years into this 20-year vision about how we want our life to be. And, guys, it's hysterical. Like 4 years in, now she's like, oh, we did that. Oh, and it's not like stuffed goals. You with me? I don't have stuffed goals. I have like walking my son down the aisle, so proud that he's getting married. Like the last 2 years, in my vision, it was
powerful.
taking my boys individually and spending the day with them at their college, putting together their dorm, going to a couple of football games, being a part, inviting their friends over to the house. Like I want more experiences. And I've got this 20-year vision of all these things I want to experience in my life. At the end of life, guys, all you are is your memories, right? I'm just trying to design more magical memories with everyone I know and everyone I love. And you can call that goal setting. I don't really think about it that way. I just think like, what are the things I want to experience this year? And by the way, Luke, as the president of the company, that could be like, I want to do more revenue than I've ever done before. You with me? Like, that's an okay experience to go, wow, we hit X top line revenue. We've never done that before. But I don't know if that's as cool as like taking my wife for her birthday and having like, a week in Paris or something. You know what I mean? Like those magical memories for me fire me up way more than, hitting a number.
That's powerful. Okay, I got to ask you, I know I hate to say it low on time, but I got to ask you, what would you go back and tell younger Tom?
Nothing. I mean, listen, I am a sum total of every freaking mistake I made in my life.
The purple
hair
got you.
So if I reversed, for sure. I mean, yeah, like, I don't know, like, close my wife sooner. Like it took me 18 months of lead follow-up to get her to say yes.
Even you think of your wife as a lead. That's awesome. I love you, dude.
Right? Exactly.
I love you.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Really true. Yeah. Guys, no regrets. I mean,
that's awesome, man.
You know what? I guess here's the only thing I would say. If I ever piss somebody off to the point that they were truly angry at me, for that person, I'm sorry. Right? As you get to know me, that would never be my intention. But outside of that, like, I don't give a shit, man. I'm so much more focused on the right now and where I'm going. But I do acknowledge and document everything we've done in the past. And I've got that for 16 years on our business and through my reading about my life or writing and, tracking all. So I know it all. I don't want to repeat the same shit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Dude, but no regrets.
I love that. That's the first time we've heard that.
Yeah.
First time someone said nothing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Tom. It was amazing to have you. We all know where you can find you, tomferry.com. You've got the podcast, the Tom Ferry Podcast Experience. You've got the video series, #Tom Ferry Show. Where else can people find you? Anything else you want to tell the folks listening?
My cell phone's 949-216-5466. 949-216-5466. We know in the world of texting, most people respond in like under 5 minutes. I'm not going to do that. Just letting you know.
We will be responding to you in the garage.
I might be in the garage. It might be odd hours. It could be Saturdays and Sundays when my wife's out, for a walk with her girlfriend. But I really pride myself on responding to everybody. And guys, I don't know, like Josh, how long I can do that, right? But right now it's really fun because yeah, people are just, they're so vulnerable and they're sharing what really matters to them. And that for me, like, it, like on my tombstone, like it's going to say, I listened.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's amazing. Tom, thanks so much for being here. And thank you so much for listening. To dive deeper into this episode and catch the video, head on over to staypaidpodcast.com. We also have a ton of resources. We have a video that we made that we mentioned that will actually show you how to leave a review on iTunes.
Yes.
That'll be linked to
So
in
no
the
excuses
show notes.
now.
Absolutely. We talked a lot about tracking your leads on this podcast. And Tom went through the steps of, if you look at where your closes came from, you have closes from open houses, closes from your sphere of influence, closes from your geographic farming, your postcards. Maybe it's your American Lifestyle magazine. We actually have a lead tracker that we'll include a link to in this show notes, in the show notes for this episode as well, that already has tabs for everything. So it's got postcards, it's got your Facebook ads. All you have to do is put in your conversion rates, which are the ones that you know, right? How many listing appointments do you have to get to secure the listing? How many listings to sold, right? What's the percentage there? And then you can work backwards to figure out how many Facebook ads you need to run, how many doors you need to knock on. Listen to James Vestini. Go back and listen to that episode.
That was an incredible episode.
He tells you how many
the
doors
door
to knock
knocking
on.
and all that stuff.
So you can find that at staypaidpodcast.com. And if you're interested in supporting the show, 2 ways. First is to rate us 5 stars on iTunes. And the best way is to tell a friend about this podcast. Hashtag StayPaid whenever you post on social media.
Stay paid.
Do us a favor there. If you want to get hold of me or Luke, you can email us at podcast@remindermedia.com or find us on Instagram. We are at Stay Paid Podcast. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike.
Guys, and I'm Luke Acree. And I don't know about you. Are you motivated? I mean, it's unbelievable. It's like, just in the energy. Can you feel the energy? I know you guys can feel the energy, even if you're listening to the audio of Tom. And just that alone should inspire you. And when he said on the podcast, that stood out to me as just a kind of kick in the ass, for lack of a better word to say it, is that if you're not busy all the time, like, what are you doing? What are you doing right now? And then it goes back to just like, what's that life by design that you're after? What is the design that you want? There's so many action items. Josh just gave you a great one, which is you got to track. And I think Tom had said, hey, when you're at your best, what are the results and where is that coming from? And tracking where your deals are coming from so you can get off that hamster wheel. I will encourage you that all of you right now need to look at your database. And Tom had given you a stat that said you should be converting 10% of your database. That is a huge action item that you should go look and go, in my database right now, am I converting 10% of my database? And if I'm not, here's your action. You're not consistently connecting with them with relevant information that impacts them, that turns into the trust that Tom's talking about. And that's the key to this, is you have to turn it into trust so that they choose you. That's the key. That's your action item for this podcast, is go to your database, look and see, are you converting 10%? If you're not converting 10%, look at how often you're contacting these people. Start contacting them more with relevant information so you can be the agent of trust and you can start converting that 10%. Remember, the difference between a top producer and a mediocre producer in every single industry that we've worked in, exactly, thank you, Josh. Top producers take action. Take action on that today.